What is going on, everybody? My name is Fluffy Ninja, and welcome back to Remnant 2. I have another build, I guess, for you. I have seen something like this before. I didn't personally like how they showed it off. That's just me. And also they used a couple different things that I was like, why would you use that? So for my archetypes, I'm running the Archon, so that way I'm getting the mod power every 10 seconds or whatever. The Invader, so that way I have Wormhole, so I can kind of dodge in and out of shitty situations. For Archon, I'm using the Havoc form just so I kind of have a little bit more DPS if I need it. Most of the time I really haven't, though. For our armor, we're using the Bandit's Mask just because it's gas mask style. And then we're using the Academic set just because I feel like it fits with the overall theme that I'm going for. We do have a medium weight, so you know we're not dodging like crazy. I'm still using the Tranquil Heart just because, again, it is one of my favorites. For our fragments, we're using the solid elemental damage, the mythic mod damage, and then the flawless weapon spread. The reason that we're using that is because we're using the Chicago Typewriter, which is personally one of my favorite guns, just in general, like IRL and in this game. In this game, it is pretty amazing. We're using the corrosive rounds, of course, because everything about this build is toxic, which is great. We're also using the Twisting Wounds modifier. You could go with something else. You could go with momentum or, whatever else you really want. But the main thing is the corrosive rounds. For our melee weapon, we're using the Gas Giant melee weapon. The Dying Breath, when infused, neutral backdash charge attack explodes in a 3-meter AoE and leaves an acid cloud which lasts for 15 seconds. So it's pretty cool. And then for our secondary, we're using Nebula. Nebula is one of my favorite secondaries. It is absolutely awesome. It takes care of all of the ads around you. It is phenomenal. And then, of course, like being able to just kind of gas everything in front of you is pretty great. Nano Swarm, of course, is just phenomenal. And then we're using Harmonizer on that, so that way we can build up our corrosive rounds, just because corrosive rounds take so much more mod power. For our amulet, we're using the Toxic Release Valve. So swapping weapons releases a Toxic Cloud, which deals 192.7 acid damage to all enemies within 10.15 meters and applies corrosion. Can only happen once every 3 seconds, so you can't just be swapping like crazy. I'm using the Acid Stone Ring because our entire thing has to do with corrosion and acid and stuff like that. The Cataloger's Jewel. This is, again, one of my favorite rings that I've found so far because it automatically generates 8 mod power per second. So you could put this on any build with any mod. And this is, there's those times, like, everybody loves Stone of Malevolence, right? Elemental damage generates 15% additional mod power. So whether you're swapping weapons, whether you're hitting them with Nebula, you're building mod power with this. But for those times that you're not in combat, maybe you're not running Archon, maybe you don't have it unlocked yet, go with the Cataloger's Jewel, because this just generates 8 mod power per second. Like, this is perfect for when you're just going through the world. Is it maybe best for boss fights? Probably not. But there are those boss fights with, like, the Corruptor and stuff like that, that you're just running around a lot. Like, you're trying not to get hit by the giant stone golem or stuff like that. This is constantly generating mod power, to where when you have the second to go ahead and use whatever on the Corruptor, like if you're trying to get the, what is it? Not the Royal Broadsword. You're trying to get Stonebreaker, right? Which means that you have to not kill the Corrupted Guardian, but you're running around the entire time. You're not doing elemental damage to get your mod power back. You're not doing anything like that. Using the Cataloger's Jewel, so that way you can use whatever mod that you're using. Like maybe you're not able to shoot at the hands, or maybe if you don't want to take the chance because you might kill the golem or whatever. Being able to use this with whatever weapon mod is pretty great. Being able to constantly have Firestorm up no matter what, or Song of Aether which doesn't really go off of the elemental damage. So being able to just have 8 mod power per second along with the 3 mod power per second, you're able to build up your mods ridiculously fast. Again, Stone of Malevolence generates 15% additional mod power. Everybody says this ring is broken. I don't think it is. I just think the way that we're using it is broken. Being able to go Firestorm, Starshot, Firestorm, Starshot, like back and forth like that is pretty broken, and I don't think they expected people to do that. I do know that they are planning to tune this ring down a little bit. If they tuned it down to 10%, or even to 7.5%, if they halved it, I think it would still have the great use in all of the builds that people are using it in. And then, of course, Timekeeper's Jewel. Increased duration of all status effects applied by wearer. Duration varies per status. So because I'm literally just using acid and I have corrosive resistance, which is awesome, I'm able to literally just gas everything and it stays on whatever I'm hitting. So I'm able to, let's see, like I'll come up here and then that gas effect lasts even longer than it's supposed to, which I think is phenomenal. So that gives you a lot of utility right there of being able to swap your weapons and you just gas something that you're running away from, and by the time you either run out of stamina or it finally does catch up to you, it's either dead or it's at the point where you have to hit it 1-2 times and you're fine. For my traits, Flashcaster and Untouchable are because of my archetypes. Fortify because we don't have a lot of armor, so we're going to try and increase it as much as possible. Vigor for max health, of course. Spirit for mod power generation, because we're trying to constantly have these two going with their mods. If we're engaging without our mods, it's going to be a bad time. Barkskin to reduce incoming damage. Handling reduces weapon spread and recoil by 40%. This is great for the Chicago typewriter. Like our ability to narrow our reticle by a lot before we even start shooting is pretty great. Footwork increases movement speed while aiming by 50%. Again, we're trying to go in with corrosive rounds with the nebula and just gas everything, put corrosion on everything. So if we're constantly aiming, that means we constantly have to be moving around to where we're not getting hit. Amplitude, increase AoE size by 45%. That is strictly for our weapon swap. Look at how big that gas area is. That's insane. If you wanted to put that in, I don't know, something else, you can. And then endurance, we have 1 point stuck in. So like if instead of amplitude, you wanted to put that in, I don't know, bloodstream or regrowth, something like that, I would understand that. I think that would be maybe a better choice. But again, because corrosion and acid don't really affect teammates as much as like firestorm, witchfire, stuff like that, you're not going to be hurting your teammates as much. But if you wanted to take that out and put it into kinship, something like that, so that way you're not hitting your teammates, you're not causing them to be corroded and possibly die due to that, that would be understandable. That is all I've got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I really hope you like the build guides. I have not been doing them just because I have been so focused on collecting as much shit as possible in this game. There's still a bunch of stuff that I don't have. As you saw, we were in Postulant's Parlor. I fucking hate that guy. I'm an idiot. I don't know how to beat him because I'm stupid. So it is really, really rough. But thank you guys again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.